Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going for 2 hours with this recent trends in noncompliance. So an update on some of the critical review, and we're going to talk about some of the findings that we've seen from regulatory agencies. I did want to mention as we start out that there have been some updates. You were a little bit delayed in getting the slides because we were updating some new information that the FDA just put out this week, or our past week rather, and we also have some updates in Health Canada regulations. So we will follow up with that new information. I'll share it with you verbally, and then we'll follow up with some additional information in a new slide deck for you, making sure that we're covering all of those pieces. But what is very interesting as we go through these findings is that even though we have multiple agencies, some working together, some maybe not working together as much, but when they are putting their eye on good clinical practice, so to speak, they're finding some of the same things. We have seen, interestingly, an uptick in the FDA's inspections over since last year, since fiscal year 2013. So some of their findings are the exact same. Actually, their findings are the exact same, but the number of sites and facilities that they've inspected has actually increased. So that's good or bad, I suppose, depending on how you look at it. So when we're looking at this process, we'll be looking at recent FDA, EMA, Health Canada. I also put in some information from PMDA for Japan. We had information from them that was updated recently in a presentation before it had reached back about 2010. Last time we had seen that put out there. We're going to look at areas of compliance concentration for the regulatory agencies. Of course, they're going to focus on where they believe problems lie, where they have seen these problems. And we're going to think about how it impacts on what we are looking for. We'll look at some of the factors that might be helping drive the present approach and what it could mean for our future compliance considerations. We know historically when issues have been identified by regulatory agencies, both domestically and abroad, that we get some sort of guidance or follow-up or reflection paper on those issues to try to help guide us into compliance with those areas. And we'll look at best practices for responding to regulatory communication from an FDA Form 483 standpoint. We do have some reference materials in terms of warning letters and maybe not the best approach to response, but we'll go through a few of those as well individually. So as we get started, we have to think about why the FDA and really other regulatory agencies inspect. They do it to ensure the integrity of the clinical research data generated through the conduct of our studies. Keeping in mind that in clinical research, it's safe to say that our product is credible data from protected subjects, not necessarily our investigational product. What we are hoping for, regardless of therapeutic area, investigational product, protocol time point, we are looking to get good data from protected people. So they are inspecting to make sure that those systems are in place to support that. Who is inspected? Really everyone. In our world, it's going to be the institutional review boards, the IECs, the IRBs if you're in Canada. We'll be looking also at sponsor, CRO, and monitor inspections where the FDA has focused quite heavily in the past, and of course our clinical investigator sites. When you look at FDA's website, for example, because they are more transparent in terms of putting out that regulatory communication than other agencies perhaps, you see a lot of warning letters going to clinical investigators and then IRBs next on the list in terms of volume. And then some, a very scant few, to sponsors and CROs. And historically, we haven't seen a lot of those actually displayed or provided publicly. But what we do note is that all of these items, all of these findings that are there are interconnected and interwoven. So we can say that clinical investigator certainly have warning letters out there, but we can read those warning letters and look through those, so to speak, and determine what the FDA is looking for in terms of the sponsors and the IRBs and the CROs that they're viewing as well, because we're not operating independently. So when we talk about the Bioresearch Monitoring Program, or BIMO, within the FDA's framework, we look at the Centers for Drug Evaluation and Research, Biologics Evaluation and Research, and Devices for Radiological Health. We also know that EMA, Health Canada, as we said, PMDA, MHRA are also doing these types of inspections. Their focus might be a little bit different. Their findings are eerily similar, however. We're going to look at the inspection trends. We're going to look at where those resources are going meaning where is the FDA, for example, putting its time and effort? What are their approaches? Are they doing more real-time inspections, more pre-approval inspections, more routine or for cause? And as we go through these findings, think about what it is you are seeing. Are you finding some of these issues? Are you seeing a glimmer of some of these issues? We know that when we go out and do our audits, for example, we're not always getting to go out as frequently as our monitors do. That's one of the reasons that the regulatory authorities have been so focused on monitoring, because they found that the monitoring processes that we've employed in the past haven't really helped us meet those obligations of determining whether we have compliance and whether we have that good and credible data.